Today, in a packed Long Island courtroom, Rex Heuermann said one word: guilty, 8 times. I'm Morgan Voss. This is True Crime Today. Coming up, the Gilgo Beach case is over. Rex Heuermann pleaded guilty this morning to 8 murders spanning 3 decades. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. We have everything that happened in that courtroom, plus an 84-year-old woman abducted from her own home and a speeding car caught on camera. The search for Nancy Guthrie. A Colorado appeals court throws out a murder conviction over a biased juror. And the Utah mother who poisoned her husband and wrote a children's book about grief is one step closer to sentencing. I'm Morgan Voss. Stay with us. Today's episode is brought to you by Genetic Genealogy for Law Enforcement, built by a cop for cops. Our lead story this morning. Rex Heuermann pleads guilty for 15 years. The families of 8 women waited for answers. This morning, they got them. Rex Heuermann, a 62-year-old former architect from Massapequa, New York, walked into a Suffolk County courtroom in Riverhead this morning and pleaded guilty 8 times to 8 murders. 7 women he had been charged with killing, and one more, Karen Vergata, whose 1996 death he took responsibility for in court today, even though he had never been charged in her case. The judge asked Heuermann if he believed it was in his best interest to plead guilty rather than go to trial. He said yes. The judge walked him through the charges one by one. Heuermann said guilty, 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 8 times. He admitted to strangling each of his victims. He wrapped their bodies in burlap. He bound their hands and their legs. The courtroom was packed. Family members of the victims filled 3 rows. An overflow room had to be opened for the crowds outside. Heuermann's ex-wife, Asa Ellerup, and their daughter were also present. Her attorney called it, in his words, an unimaginable day. The victims were Melissa Barthelemy, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack, Sandra Costilla, and Karen Vergata. Each of them had a name. Each of them had people who loved them. And each of them waited more than a decade. Some of them more than 3 decades, for this day. The investigation cracked open in 2022 when a new task force was formed. Detectives linked Heuermann to a pickup truck seen near one of the disappearances. They pulled his cell phone records. They found his internet search history, which showed an obsessive interest in the very killings he was committing. And in a Manhattan trash can, they recovered a box of pizza crusts he had thrown away. DNA from that crust matched a hair found on burlap used to restrain one of his victims. He had been scheduled for trial in September. He had maintained his innocence for 3 years. Today, that ended. Sentencing is set for June 17th. Heuermann faces 3 consecutive life sentences without parole, followed by 4 consecutive sentences of 25 years to life. He will die in prison. Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney held a press conference this afternoon, joined by victims' families and members of the Gilgo Beach Homicide Investigation Task Force. We will bring you full coverage of that sentencing when June 17th arrives, right here on True Crime Today. Now to our case updates. Update 1. Nancy Guthrie. Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of NBC Today show anchor Savannah Guthrie, was reported missing from her home in the Catalina foothills area of Tucson, Arizona on February 1st. Today marks day 67 with no confirmed location and no arrests. Authorities believe she was taken from her home against her will, possibly in the middle of the night. Blood found on her front porch tested positive for her DNA. The FBI recovered doorbell camera video of an armed, masked person tampering with a camera at her front door before ripping out a plant to block the camera's view. Multiple ransom notes have been sent to media outlets. The most recent note claims the writer saw Nancy Guthrie alive in Sonora, Mexico, and offers to reveal information in exchange for Bitcoin. Investigators have not confirmed the note's authenticity. The Guthrie family is offering a $1 million reward for her safe recovery. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department or the FBI. Update 2. Letecia Stauch. A Colorado woman who was serving life in prison for killing her 11-year-old stepson is getting a new trial. The Colorado Court of Appeals overturned Letecia Stauch's conviction last week after finding that a biased juror had been allowed to deliberate. That juror's son-in-law worked in the same district attorney's office that prosecuted her. Gannon Stauch was killed in January 2020. His stepmother was convicted in 2023. A retrial date has not been set. Update 3. Kouri Richins. The Utah mother who poisoned her husband with a fentanyl-laced drink and then wrote a children's book about grief is awaiting sentencing. Kouri Richins was convicted last month on all counts, including aggravated murder. Her husband Eric died in 2022. Sentencing is expected in May. Update 4. Luigi Mangione. A federal judge has dismissed the 2 counts against Luigi Mangione that could have carried the death penalty. Mangione is accused of shooting and killing United Healthcare chief executive Brian Thompson on a New York City sidewalk in December 2024. He will not face execution in federal court. State murder charges in New York remain. His federal trial has been pushed to 2027. And finally, our deep look: the victims of Gilgo Beach. Today, on the day Rex Heuermann pleaded guilty, we want to take a moment to say their names. Because this case was not about one man. It was about 8 women whose lives were taken and whose remains were left along a desolate stretch of Long Island Parkway, some of them for more than a decade before they were found. Sandra Costilla was 28 years old when she disappeared in 1993. Her remains were found in Southampton. Karen Vergata was 34 years old when she was killed in 1996. Her remains were found in 2 locations, years apart. Valerie Mack was 25 years old when she disappeared in the year 2000. Her son Benjamin was 6 years old when he lost his mother. He filed a civil lawsuit against Heuermann just 2 days ago. Jessica Taylor was 20 years old when she disappeared in 2003. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Barthélemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello all disappeared between 2007 and 2010. For years, investigators believed their cases would never be solved. The killer had chosen these women because he thought they would not be missed. He was wrong. A task force formed in 2022. Investigators worked methodically. They followed DNA. They followed cell towers. They followed a pizza crust in a Manhattan garbage can, and they found him. Today, in a Riverhead courtroom, Rex Heuermann admitted to what he did. He faces the rest of his life in prison. And 8 women, Sandra, Karen, Valerie, Jessica, Maureen, Melissa, Megan, and Amber, finally have justice. Heuermann will be sentenced on June 17th. Between now and that day, True Crime Today will be following every development in this case. Tomorrow, we will have the latest from today's press conference with District Attorney Ray Tierney and the victims' families, and we will hear what justice looks like to the people who waited longest for it. That's your True Crime Today. I'm Morgan Voss. Stay informed. Stay safe.